Just like everyone else, I used to draw eyes from a dry and technical standpoint. But in the end, it did not have the snap or great expression I saw in my favorite characters. And worst of all, I could only copy from references. I had a hard time coming up with eyes from imagination that were still lively and believable. But then I found the forced drawing method, and that changed everything. Not only is it better for beginners, it's way more fun, intuitive, and dynamic. And I'm going to show you exactly what got me to draw awesome-looking eyes and therefore awesome-looking expressions. First, I'll cover the basics of an eye, and if you stay till the end, you'll see how force turns everything magic. First, the basics. Eyes have 4 components: the eyeball, eyelids, eye corners, and the iris. The eye is like a tennis ball with 2 thick tapes wrapping over it, one at the top and one at the bottom. Notice that the tapes, or the eyelids, have a noticeable thickness. You can also think of the eye as a beer belly poking through a belt and an ill-fitting shirt, both 2 sizes too small. Just like the beer belly of an uncle, remember that the eyeball is round, so when you draw the eyelids, make sure they wrap along the round form of the eyeball. If we draw the eyelids straight, then we get the infamous flat sticker eyes. Going back to the beer belly, where the shirt and the belt start to separate, would be the eye corners. So at bare minimum, we need 2 curves for the upper and bottom lids that fan out from the eye corners. Notice that the 2 curves meet on the other side too. It's just obscured by the round belly in this case. To draw an eye, we start with 2 curves for the upper and lower eyelids. Eye structures vary a lot from person to person, but I designed this particular eye to have a crease, so that's another curve at the top. Eye variation is a whole another topic, which I'll save for a future video. To indicate the thickness of the lower lid, I added another subtle curve at the bottom. I wrapped the lower lid around the eyeball and then straightened it out towards the inner corner once it went past the eyeball. Again, there's a huge variation with eye angles, but I find that on average, the outer corner is positioned slightly higher than the inner corner. The iris, or the colored part of the eye, sits in the middle of the eyeball. This is where we actually see through, meaning the iris points at wherever you're looking at. In other words, it follows the gaze. Keep the iris in mind because it becomes important later. Now that we learned about eye structure, let's dive into force and see how it changed the whole game for me. There are 2 types of force: directional force and applied force. You can think of directional force as the direction of the line that represents a sailcloth, and the invisible direction of the wind. You can think of the energy being applied in the direction of the wind as the applied force to the sailcloth. When the wind is weak, the sailcloth bends very little, and the sailboat moves slowly. When the wind picks up, the sailcloth bends more, and the sailboat moves more quickly. When the wind really picks up, the sailcloth will be holding on for dear life, and the sailboat moves at turbo speed. So the stronger the applied force, the more drastic the bend of the directional force. But now, let's show how force moves the eye around. Remember the iris? It's the secret sauce of eye movements. Check this out. The eyeball is actually raised at the iris. That's right, the eyeball is not a perfectly smooth ball. There's a clear covering called cornea sitting on top of the iris, which creates a little bump. Why is this important? Because just like the wind on the sail, the iris exerts applied force to the eyelids. Iris is like a joystick bounded by the eyelids. It moves around like a joystick according to our gaze, but if it moves towards the edge of the eyes, it gets interrupted by the eyelids. And wherever the iris hits the eyelids is where the applied force is, and this changes the shape of the eye. We saw how applied force of the wind changed the shape of the sailcloth. In the same way, the applied force from the iris pushes the eyelids out of the way. The secret to drawing expressive eyes is changing the eye shape according to the gaze. Next video, I'm going to not just show you the eye, but how it works on the whole face. So make sure to subscribe as the video is coming soon. I hope you found this introduction to forces of the eyes helpful. They're essential to give life to your eyes they deserve. We have a lot of great free content on our channel about force in many different topics, so please subscribe, hit the like button, and leave a comment if there is something you find challenging about drawing the eye. But if you really want to get a jump start on your drawing, we offer one-on-one mentorships and we have in-depth classes at drawingforce.com. It's the global industry standard developed by Mike Matese, so we hope to see you there. See you in the next video!